All right, good evening. This is a live broadcast, but if you're watching this and the sun is up, that means more than likely you're watching a recording of this, okay? You're watching a recording of this, because I have to say that because we did a live recently and I had a phone number on the screen and people were actually, I saw that people were calling that number and leaving voice messages. I'm like, it's been over. So, but yeah, so anyway, long day. I went to do this a little bit earlier, but I'm here now. So people will catch it when they can. But we're going to get into this in just a few moments, okay? We're going to be talking about taking a closer look at this whole situation regarding the white South African farmers. And there's some things in this that I hope you're not missing, okay? I have a feeling, though, that a lot of people are. But we're going to get into it, okay? We're going to give people about a minute and a half, and then we're going to jump right in, okay? All right, about another, let's say 30 seconds, and then we'll start. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. It is a heat up out here in Arizona. Sunny Arizona is hot. And, well, this is the pre-hot. Today, I think we reached 100 and, and so it's about 90 now. And, but this is the pre-hot. So it's warm, but we ain't what's normal out here right now. So we ain't quite reached the heights yet. But anyway, but yeah, it's a little warm. So if you see me getting a little warm up in here, you know why. But anyway, good to have you guys. Hope you guys had a wonderful day. For those of you who were doing Mother's Day, if you're doing Mother's Day yesterday, big shout out to all the beautiful mothers that are out there. And for those that called in, I told you I was going to do something special for y'all. And this is what I did for all those who called in. We had about 6 people who called in, paying homage or giving thanks to their mother and all of that. And I said I was going to do something for those mothers. That's why I was asking for their names and all of that, because I really wanted it to be special here. And this is what I did over on our website, sambatree.com. Yeah, I made this. I put this together here. Isn't that beautiful? Got 6 beautiful, gorgeous mothers just out on a sunny day, just being them. And I just think that was beautiful. I like it. I loved how this came out. I was like, okay, y'all. Okay, AI, you doing it. So yeah, so let me see this here. So it said, my wife introduced me to y'all. Thank you for everything you do and your wife for doing to edify those who have an ear to hear. Well, thank you, Red Bull 357, for sharing that. I really do appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And tell your wife we said hey, and thank you, and really appreciate that. Yeah, so this is so speaking of which, on Sabatree.com, as you know, Sabatree, We're all about health and wellness. Health and wellness. We're not going to sit up here and just talk about problems. We're not going to sit up here and just leave you at the altar of problems, okay, and complaint and all of that. But we are also going to email me following my footsteps. Email me. I'll be more than happy to send it to you. Just email me. What is that? Care. Anybody else that wanted? Let me see. Yeah. Just emails care@sambatree.com and be more than happy to email it to you. What was I going to say? Yeah, health and wellness. We're not going to just sit up here and talk about problems and just leave you there and that's it. Have a good night now. I know Negroes out there just shooting each other all day and all of that, but hey, that's it. I hope you have a wonderful evening. No, we ain't going to leave you off there. We want to leave you at least, thinking, you know what I mean? Processing and how to change things, be a change agent. You know what I mean? But we also want you healthy and well as well. All right. And so speaking of which, we do have a promotion going on. All right. And this is our way of saying thank you to all the mothers that are out there. You get 15% off store-wide, 15% off everything, regardless of what it is, 15% off. I don't see any restrictions on this at all, but store-wide 15% off. And that is all the wonderful things that we sell here. Everything from powders to bitters to teas to body care, tooth care, or I should say oral care, seasoning, food seasonings, natural food seasonings, copper jewelry, you name it, we got it. Okay. 15% off store-wide, check it out. And while we still got it up, and that's only going to go to the end of tonight. So if you're looking at this video and it's a recording and you're in Tuesday, it's too late. You done missed it. It's gone. All right. So, you want to treat mom, you want to give her something special, whatever, swing on by. It's never too late. Mom, she'll forgive you if it gets there too late. She'll forgive you. Trust me, she'll forgive you. It's the thought that matters. So come on. It's okay. I won't tell her. Come on by sambatree.com and then we'll take good care of you. Also, don't forget Samba University, for those of you who are interested in really learning from the ground up, how to do ChatGPT. We have a class. It's already done. All you got to do is click, purchase, download. It's already done. You get the video, you get a free 78-page book, that go along with that 2-hour course that we taught. We just wrapped up one recently, the AI artwork, so you can do things like I just showed you as well. Same thing. You click, purchase. It's already done. The video's done, and you could take that class at your own pace. This week, I have my book. I'm be dropping the big black book of AI prompts, where we're going to be giving. I'm just got a whole big chunk of different prompts that you can use that all cover different areas, anywhere from building your own business and, building your own business to getting into arts and sciences and math. I cover all of that too. For those that are interested in starting their own homeschool, building your own homeschool program. We have that as well. Foods and herbal stuff, you name it. Anything that deals in our space there. I'm trying to capture as much as possible in that book. So make sure you stop by as well, Samba University. And we're going to be adding a lot more things going on there. Okay. So again, everything I just discussed, just go to sambatree.com. All right. So let's move on. And this week, I'm actually going to try something. I'm going to see if I got enough in the tank to do it. I should be able to do it. We'll see. But every day this week, I'm going to try to do one news item. So every day, just this week, I'm just testing something out to see. So when we do news, it's going to be just on one topic. That's it. And other times I talk about multiple stories. But this one, for this week, I'm just going to focus on one story, and that will be the focus of the broadcast. And then tomorrow I'll pick something else, and then we'll go on with that. I don't know if y'all heard of this story. Y'all hear this trend going on. Again, what we call the black community is cooked, man. It's a trend going on right now where you got black folks out here who are inviting redheads to the cookout. I tell you, the cookout, can I cancel the cookout? I mean, really, These folks done invited so many people to this cookout. That's the problem. People want to cook and dance and all of that, but don't want to do nothing. But anyway, the cookout now is inviting redheads, and because there are people who are saying that redheads are actually black people. I kid you not. I was gonna deal with that tonight, but I said, I'm not. I think there's a lot more interesting things in this particular story here that I want to talk about than that. But I'm just telling you just how crazy it is. But I want to keep focused, because there's a video I want to show you too that's like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. But anyway, let's talk about this South African situation. As you know, President Trump has rolled out the red carpet for white South African farmers. And his reason for doing that, and we're going to go over the article in this momentarily, is because of their claim. And what they're saying is that, they are persecuted. Okay, they're being persecuted there in South Africa. And so they've had enough, and they said, we're done. We're going to head on over to America. And what Trump is doing is basically fast tracking them into getting a legal status here in the United States. And as you can imagine, a lot of people, are just losing their minds over this, because it proves that America is a very racist nation. And how dare they do this? How dare America rolls out the red carpet for everybody else but those dastardly white South African farmers. Now, on this broadcast, or rather on this platform, as for those that follow this, we always try to dig a little bit deeper, because the goal is for you to think deeper. You know what I mean? Don't just react on things based on your emotion, because it would be really easy for me to package this and say, yep, those people are racist and this, that, or whatever. And yeah, Trump is racist, and that's the end of it. It'll be easy for me to do that. Now, for those that have followed this platform, I've never held back when I'm talking about the history of whites or Europeans that came into South Africa. In fact, if you go to our community page, just scroll a little bit, I did a whole, I don't know what it is, what you would call it, kind of a cheat sheet, historical cheat sheet, where I went back as far as I possibly could in the history of South Africa, and before the Europeans got there. And we just went through chronological order, from before they were there, the name of the people groups that were already there. And then when the Europeans came, and then the games they played with the blacks that were already there, the Africans that were already there, or I should say the tribes that were already there, and, the manipulation they brought to the table. And likewise, we covered what the tribes were doing to each other. We covered that as well. I took you through all of that to the 1700s, to the 1800s. And then right when you get, I guess, the early 1900s or whatever, that's when apartheid, you see that coming into play. And we covered all of that. And then we also talked about post-apartheid. I think it's about a 10-page thing. It's free. I made it free as a download. And because I wanted to do that, because particularly for us here in the West, anytime South Africa comes up, we tend to just link it to apartheid, white people, they're racist, and that's it, and it's end of discussion. But a lot of people, as I listen to others, I'm talking about here in the West, there's a lot of gaping holes in that. And that's why I wanted to put something together so people can at least kind of see how South Africa arrived at where it is today, right? And so yeah, just scroll a little bit on our community page. You'll see it. It's free of charge. You can download it. But anyway, let's see. So yeah, so people are looking at this and are, saying, yeah, this is totally racist, because he really doesn't want brown people, coming to this country. Well, let's back all the way up with that. Okay, let's back all the way up. Number one, stop thinking in binary. Stop thinking in ones and zeros, absolutes. There is nothing at all that, as far as I know, officially where the United States has ceased allowing people of other groups to come into this country. As far as I know, the immigration system is still working. So you still got people coming from different parts of the world, regardless of their skin tone, they're still coming. All right. I haven't heard of anything yet where they are, Gerard said drink plenty of grapefruit juice. I'm sorry. You see, blame Gerard on this. I literally today I went out to try to find some grapefruit. It's gone. The season is officially over. My hookups, I got hookups all in a couple of towns. I got a whole train of hookups. I went there and it's done. But oranges are still on point. I got me 2 bags of oranges today. And yeah, but the grapefruit, real quick, because this is important. So I said, dang, I can't get no more grapefruit. So I went to the grocery store and I went to the organic section. They had grapefruit there. I paid $5, got a bag of, it's okay, bag of grapefruit. And yeah, it doesn't have as many seeds, but it had seeds in them. So yeah, get your grapefruit. And yeah, make sure you get that. But anyway, so back on track here. So anyway, what we're going to do now is I'm going to actually we're going to get into this story, this South African story, because what you're going to find is that there's some lessons in here that, particularly for us as Black Americans, I hope you don't miss it, because it's a much bigger issue than that. So you can either stay in that low vibrational state and just say, oh, racism, or you can come with me as we dig just a little bit deeper and we look at exactly what's going on and why this is another flashpoint in history that we need to be listening to and paying close attention to. Okay. All right. So let's go here. So let's start off with the article that's here that kind of talks about this. Let's go here. All right. So this is by way of CBS News. So let's go ahead and touch on that. All right, so I'll just read through this a little bit. What is the truth behind Trump's offering white South African farmers U.S. citizenship? Johannesburg, President Trump doubled down on Friday his offer to grant U.S. citizenship to white Afrikaners, farmers in South Africa, accusing their government of treating them terribly. Mr. Trump said the U.S. would offer them safety and that they would be given rapid pathway to citizenship. Mr. Trump had previously pointed to new land expropriation laws in South Africa that he claims are racist and a breach in the white farmers' human rights. In reaction to the laws, he has halted all foreign aid to South Africa. So let me stop you here. What they are saying, it's funny how they word this. They said Mr. Trump had previously pointed to a new land expropriation laws in South Africa that he claims are racist. Well, let me tell you, they are. They are. Once we get into it, you're going to see what's been going on in South Africa is apartheid has been literally flipped on his head. Now, don't get it twisted. I mean, white people ain't going through slavery over there. Okay. It's not like that. But there is a lot of instances where farms are actually being destroyed at the hands of Black South Africans. And as we get into this, you're going to see how crazy and insane this is, and how Zimbabwe is over here screaming like, hey, South Africa, y'all stupid for doing this. Okay, we're going to talk about that too, because there are many of y'all, I guarantee you, who haven't been following Zimbabwe. I have, okay? Because Zimbabwe has been through this, okay? So it's funny, but it ain't funny, okay? But I'm sorry, I got to keep it moving because I'm just thinking about, I'm like, gosh, man, these folks. Anyway, diplomatic relations between the two countries have been cool for several years since the then U.S. Ambassador Ruben Rigty, okay, during a May 2023 news conference, accused South Africa of loading weapons onto a U.S. sanctioned Russian ship in Simonstown Harbor, where they sailed back to Russia, where we don't care about that. That's all the Ukraine stuff. Okay, here we go. That tension has been exacerbated by South Africa's case at the International Criminal Court, where it has accused close U.S. ally Israel of committing genocide against Palestinians in the war-torn Gaza Strip. Let's see. I can just dip in there real quick with the as far as South Africa is concerned, because it's when it comes to Israel. Israel, just real quick history. Israel, first of all, was one of the lone countries, and Israel ain't really a country, it's a state. So let's get that straight. When it came to apartheid, I'm talking about apartheid South Africa, they were the only, let's say, state country that stood side by side with racist South Africa. Not only stood side by side with them, but they provided training to the soldiers, and they also provided weapons. Okay. To this day, Israel is still involved in what's going on in South Africa in two ways. And we talked about that as well. On the white side, they're training a lot of these white South Africaners. They're training them how to fight or to retaliate against the black South Africans. They're actually providing training. All right. Israeli soldiers are doing that. That's on the left side. On the right side, the Jewish people are intricately involved in that as well. When you look at Malema, when you listen to him and his EFF party, when you listen to their rhetoric, guess what they're tied to? They are tied to socialism/communism. Well, guess who came up with that one? That's Jewish. The founders of communism/socialism, that's all Jewish. In fact, I showed you a tweet that Malema posted not too long ago on Twitter. He said, I'm against all anti-Semitism. He said, in fact, he said Jewish people are our biggest they give to us the most. They give to our party the most. That's what he said. And he said, and I love them. That's what he said. So the Jews are also involved in that side too. You understand what I'm saying? But you also got this other crazy thing that the government of South Africa has been kind of like really speaking out and draw the line against Israel. So you got to learn how to read the room when you're dealing with this stuff, because trust me, there's a baseline of a narrative that's going on here. And like I always tell people, keep your eyes on the ball. And for me, the ball is Israel on all of this stuff, but I will not get into all of that this evening, but I just wanted to point that out. Let's mention this here. Talk shows and editorials in South Africa buzz with talk about Mr. Trump's executive order and the possibility of even more U.S. sanctions. Many South Africans who called into such shows have voiced confusion, as it seems there's little interest in an offer of asylum in the U.S., even among the leaders of the Afrikaans group who have appealed to Mr. Trump for help. I think we as Afrikaners have been treated as the scapegoat and punching bag in this country for 3 decades, with political leaders chanting on stage at political rallies, "Kill the Boer." So we are very grateful for someone like President Trump to acknowledge the 144 race laws in South Africa. And I checked, there's actually 142, and I'll mention that in a little bit. And so it goes on that it talks about how many of these Afrikaners really do not want to leave the country. They just want these laws that they're pushing to kind of, y'all need to chill with this stuff. And what do I mean by that exactly, the laws? What am I talking about? Well, the black South African government, like I said, again, has flipped it on its head, apartheid in terms of economically. As you know, whites own a good percentage of the land in South Africa, whereas blacks, not so much. Now, I'm going to talk about, and I mentioned this before, have you ever asked the question, how much land does the black South African government own? See, notice how that's left out of the conversation. Well, I'm going to tell you that too. And I'm also going to pose the question, why is it that that land isn't being given to the Black South Africans? All right, so we're going to talk about that too. All right, so anyway, so what I'm going to do is just going to go down a list. So glad I write my stuff down, man, because I would be just all over the place here. Anyway, let's go to here first. I'm just closing out some things here. Oh, this is what I want to mention here. And don't get distracted. Do not get distracted, because it's interesting. You have a lot of whites over here in the United States who are like, oh, no, we will not tolerate white South Afrikaners. We don't want these white African people coming over here. How dare they come over here? They're a bunch of racists. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Okay, don't fall for it. It's all smoke and mirrors. So you have groups like the Episcopal Church. They just recently came out and they said they're done as far as and let me just read it to you. They said Episcopal Church refuses to resettle white Afrikaners, citing moral opposition. Now, when you read the article, they really don't exactly say, well, what is happening here that's crossing some kind of moral why would this bring out a moral opposition that you're bringing white South Afrikaners here to the United States? I mean, what's the great sin in that? I mean, I'm just saying. Again, they're counting on your ignorance. Y'all not ignorant, okay? And we're going to go through this and make sure you don't stay ignorant on this. In a striking move that ends a nearly 4 decades old relationship between the federal government and the Episcopal Church, the denomination announced on Monday that it is terminating its partnership with the government to resettle refugees, citing moral opposition to resettling white Afrikaners from South Africa who have been classified as refugees by President Trump's administration. In a letter sent to members of the church, the Most Reverend Sean W. Rowe, the presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church, said that 2 weeks ago, the government informed Episcopal Migration Ministries that under the terms of our federal grant, we are expected to resettle white Afrikaners from South Africa, whom the U.S. government has classified as refugees. The request, Rowe said, crossed a moral line of the Episcopal Church, which is part of the global Anglican, am I saying that right, communion, which boasts among its leaders the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu, a celebrated and vocal opponent of apartheid in South Africa. All right, let's back up here for a second. Let's back up for a second. We ain't gonna be ignorant here, y'all. We ain't gonna be ignorant up in here. Okay, first of all, Desmond Tutu, yes, he was against apartheid. We get it, right? Who wasn't for the most part? Apartheid is bad. It's bad. We get it. So how are these white farmers, how are they tied to apartheid? They're not in a position to execute apartheid. So how are they getting punished for something that right now they're not in a position to even execute that? So the grounds of which y'all are saying that, oh, this is a moral decay and opposite, there's no grounds for that. What are you talking about? Again, I'm really challenging some of y'all because, again, some of y'all, I know you listen to me cross-eyed or cross-eared because Dwayne, are you standing up for these, white people and all this? Listen to the whole matter, okay? Listen to what I'm saying. Okay, listen to what I'm saying. All right, so let me finish this out here. I ain't gonna read all of it because it makes me tired. In light of our church's steadfast commitment to racial justice and reconciliation and our historical ties with the Anglican Church of Southern Africa, we are not able to take this step, Rowe wrote. Accordingly, we have determined that by the end of the federal fiscal year, we will conclude our refugee resettlement grant agreements with the U.S. federal government. Rose stressed that while the Episcopal Migration Ministries will seek to wind down all federally funded services by the end of the federal fiscal year in September, The denomination will continue to support immigrants and refugees in other ways, such as offering aid to refugees who have already been resettled. And it goes on. Okay, so so they're saying that, oh no, not the white people, even though we're white. Never fall for that. When I hear white people hating on them, supposedly hating on themselves, it don't do nothing. They think that's like, they're invited to the cookout. This is them wanting to be invited to whatever this cookout is. But don't fall for this, okay? Don't even fall for this. If it was just an egregious thing, they would halt that money right now. They wouldn't wait till September. So miss me with all of that, okay? They still getting their bag, and they're gonna find another way to get that bag. So miss me with all of that. Okay, so now let me switch over to my thing over here. We're gonna go to Twitter, because I told you I've been really following what's going on over there in South Africa here. Let me see. Okay, let's see what would be the first thing I want to cover here. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Okay, so here's one thing here that I want to bring up. You heard me laughing about laughing when I brought up Zimbabwe. Now, really quickly, Zimbabwe, if you're not familiar with it, Zimbabwe years ago went through the same thing, where for years and years, when Zimbabwe, when it was handed back over to black folks in Zimbabwe from the whites, it was handed back over to them. There was always this bubbling kind of seething thing that the Zimbabweans had. They said, basically, we want all of our land back, and rightfully so. I don't blame them. We want all of our land back. And what happened? And so for years and years and years, they started doing the same exact thing South Africa is doing. They started changing laws, making it more and more difficult for these white farmers to do what they do, and they're farmers, right? And so they kept pushing until finally, guess what happens? They pushed them out. Finally pushed them out. It didn't take long. Because guess what? They begged these white folks to come back. They begged them to come back. You want to know why? Because guess who was doing the farming? Now okay. I want you to pay attention to the details here. White people in Zimbabwe, they owned the land, the farming land, they owned all that land. But the workers, the field workers, were black folks. So the black folks that were there, they were content with being field workers. They stayed in that position. Okay? Now, this was still going on during when black folks were ruling that country. In other words, to my knowledge, there was no major movement that went on to say, you know what? We got all of this land in Zimbabwe. How about we start building some more farms? This time, these are farms that we control. That's our farms. And we're going to make them competitive to these farms of these white folks. In other words, we're not going to create some dumb laws and just run them out. We're going to become better at because all of this time we've been trained to know how to run a farm. Follow me what I'm saying here. So now this is our opportunity to start let's create our own farms, because now we got some power here, because now guess what? We control the government now. So let's build our own farms, and let's become competitive to the point where, some of these white farmers, they may say, you know what, you guys know what you're doing. You guys know you really know what you're doing. Our biggest mistake was hiring y'all, because while y'all were out in the field, you was getting trained on how to outdo what we're doing. But that's not what happened. These folks stayed at that level. And then as a result, when they got into government, they immediately thought revenge. That's it. And so they ran these white farmers out of that country, not realizing that they did not have what they needed to know how to run the entire operation. They may knew how to do what's in the field and all the other stuff, but they did not have what they needed to run that entire operation. And as a result, it was so bad. The government of Zimbabwe had to call these white people back and say, y'all need to come back. Whatever we got to do, we're going to do it. We'll do it for you. You just need to come back because our food production is going in the garbage. We can't even feed ourselves. I told you we're going to go through all of it. And that's what happened. And look at what's on the screen. Look at what's on the screen. I ain't show the whole thing. The Zimbabwean government has started paying back the farmers whom the land was seized from them by the government illegally. The Zimbabwean government is expected to pay back $3.1 billion to all the farmers whom their land was seized by the government. So the farmers that you ran out, now you begged them to come back, and now you got to pay them even more money and still keep them in a position of being your food providers. See, this is the kind of stuff people don't think this stuff all the way through. When you just rush and just do something and just, get them all out. Because people over here in the United States, Negroes here in the United States, that's right, run them out. But nobody took the time to say, okay, now do y'all know how to run these farms? Well, who cares? We just got to get them out. But do you understand how to run these farms? Well, this is our land. This is okay. I get it. I'm with you. I'm with you. Yes, I'm with you. But do you know how to run these farms? Well, in the Zimbabwe case, they didn't. Now, as we're turning the page, South Africa is doing the same thing. They're doing the same thing. Now, let's turn the page to South Africa. And I got some things I'm going to show you because South Africa is doing this thing step by step. And it's just, I don't even know. It's like I sit back and I'm like, bruh, the lesson is right there in front of your face. I mean, bruh, you know what I mean? Anyway, let me get to this first video here. Let me, okay. Let me go to this first video here. This is in South Africa. This is a podcast, and I want you to take a listen to what this guy is saying here. Let me pull this up here. It's about a minute, and let's take a listen to this. Here we go.
So if the white farmers leave, we'll be fine in SA.
If the white farmers leave, then we are going to enter civil war. Because people are going to come into your house to get food. The hungry will eat the rich.
So I'm going to eat soul.
If you're hungry, you will eat soul. You look
finish
yummy.
me, dog. You know the start, boy. You're finished me, man.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's the quickest way you can, and there's nothing else that can make this country like it's hurting people here. But the quickest we can get to a very abnormal situation is for people not to have food. Okay, this is why our government is making efforts to have these 350 grants, and we don't like them as taxpayers. But let the people go hungry, then you will see. And we are very close, very close, very close. The poverty in this country is real, and people don't have the skill to grow their own food.
Jesus. You heard what he's saying? He's saying that he's basically saying once the white people leave, you're going to see civil war. Because this is always poverty, hunger are always serve as the seabed for any civil war. when they see food production starting to go down, you really going to start seeing some mess coming out of South Africa for real. And I mean, you're already seeing it now. We've talked about this as, the crime rates that are happening in South Africa. That's been going on for a very long time. Who's being arrested the most? It's other black South Africans. We talked about also the amount of corruption. Now, let's be, because I'm always going to get somebody that's going to say, don't focus on South Africa. There's a lot of good that's going on in South Africa. Yes, there is. I understand that, and I get that. But what we're talking about right now is a government. All you have to do is listen to what other South Africans are saying about their own country. This ain't me just sitting up here and I'm just throwing things out there. I'm listening to what the people are saying, particularly the black ones. And they're tired of this. I heard one South African say recently, a black one, they talked about how you get, and I don't know if it's countrywide or in certain parts of town or whatever, they say you're allowed 2 trees in your yard, 2 trees. They say if you want any more trees, you got to get a permit for that. This is South Africa. And it's like little things, they keep charging taxes for literally everything, like everything. They're hitting these people up. This is the black government doing this to black folks. And they're hitting these people up over and over again with all of these taxes over and over again. And these people are already in poverty. They're already in poverty. And we could talk about the power company, the power situation, why they keep getting power and losing power, getting power and losing power has nothing. That's not racism. Oh, thank you, Healthy Green Lifestyle, for that super chat. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I would love to do a video on that soon because there's a lot of talk about that gentleman there, and I really am looking forward to doing that video. And so, just stay tuned. Yeah, we'll get into that. But thank you for bringing that up. And again, thank you for your super chat. Really appreciate that. Let's move on to the next story here. The next video, sorry. Let's see where this one is. This is the EFF. Again, this is Malema's group here. They are blocking the University of Pretoria, the gates in this video, blocking it from white people. They're telling white people, you can't come into the university. Again, this is supposed to be a university for all people, but yet the EFF, they are doing these kind of stunts here like this. So here's a video.
Hey, we don't only black students. Only black students. Only black students. Go back.
Oh my God.
Only black students.
Oh my God. Sure.
So this is the kind of games that they're playing over there. Okay, this is the kind of games that they're playing over there right now. So that was just one example, but it's going to get a little darker here in a minute. This brother here, he said, so the people from Mother Earth don't know how to grow their own food. He said they let the white people feed them and rule over them. They are, bro, let me tell you, it don't make no sense, do it? It doesn't make any sense. It literally, you got to understand, for years I've been trying to make that make sense. Because I'm thinking that's just automatic, right? You and I, we just think that would be automatic. They would not. No. When I tell you colonialism has destroyed the minds, it's wow. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, to the north. Yeah, up in the north. Don't they have a white only town over there? Yeah, it's way out in the cut though. It's way out in the cut, but that's just a small town. But when it comes to certain things like utilities and things like that, they still have to depend, a lot of it, they still have to depend on the utilities coming from that are owned and operated by the black owned government. But they're doing some stuff that's covered in the 100. It's not 144 laws that deal specifically. When they say race laws, what they're talking about is laws where they make it into a requirement that you always got to have a black person there. For example, if you, for example, if you as a black person moved over there to South Africa and you said you wanted to start a business, right? A business that's going to require some employees. Let's say for now, you're like, hey, right now, I got my own people. I just want to start off with that. And then eventually I'll grow it where I'll start hiring people from South Africa. Well, guess what? You ain't gonna have no business over there because the requirement to get a business license in South Africa is that you must hire people in South Africa. And it doesn't even matter if they're trained to do the job or not. That's why you got businesses saying, you know what, I'm done. Because they are being forced to hire people that oftentimes aren't trained to do the job. And you got businesses that are like, okay, then I can't do business there. I can't do business there. If that's going to be the requirement, it's like affirmative action, but it's like, it's a whole nother level of affirmative action. They got that kind of stuff. That's just one example, but then there's plenty other examples too that I can go through, and that's all covered in 142, what they call race laws. Okay. That's what they got going on there. Okay. So let me get to this next one here. This is, a story about a black farmer, because this is not just impacting white farmers, it's also black farmers as well. Here's the story right here. This is not a video, but it's just a post right there. I'm gonna say Jerry Boshoga, a farmer from Pretoria, was kidnapped in November 2024 in a Centurion while heading to a meeting with an associate. Kidnappers are demanding 10 million rand for his release. And there are stories out there, and if I had the time, I would have put more of them together, of black farmers, because you hear a lot about the white farmers, but there's also black farmers that are catching it too. So that's that. Okay, so that story there. This next one. Now, this is a video clip. This is Malema. I played this clip before. Something he said that was that really stood out to me. Joseph Malema, he said this. Hold on. Where is it? Scroll down here. He was in an interview and he was talking, saying, oh man, did I skip it? Basically in this interview, I'm getting to it. Cause I don't have that many things bookmarked here. Oh, here it is. This is it. I just skipped right over it. Okay, so this is Malema. This is him speaking. And I want you to pay attention to what he's saying here. So he's got all this heat against white people, particularly white farmers. But check out his personal preference when it comes to getting lawyer advice.
The EFF, when they wake up every morning, these are the same people, when they want to send CVs to government, when they want to send CVs to Oppenheimer, they write bad about the EFF. And then wake up one morning wanting to give you the lawyers who must represent you. Ian Levitt attorneys are attorneys of record. They are paid every month to represent the EFF everywhere. And they've done it so well. So why should we complain? We must hate them today because they are white. When we were losing cases with black lawyers, failing to submit the simplest thing like a one page, and then we must use the same services, lose cases so that we can be projected as the most disorganized organization with no direction. To hell with all of you.
All right, so he's saying to hell with all of you. He's talking specifically to these black lawyers who he's saying that when it came to filing certain court documents, they didn't have their stuff together. He said, but the white lawyers, they had all their stuff together, so I prefer to work with them. So he's very selective in his whatever that he has against white folks over there. When it comes to getting stuff done that he wants to get done, he gonna go with white people every day of the week. But this whole like black unity nonsense that he tries to push as well, it's all just that, and he just exposed himself on that one. Next video here is a clip talking about these farms. Now, what's been happening is, and you hear about these white farmers, right? Going back what I just said, pretty much the entire food production of South Africa is being run by white farmers. Okay. And so you also have black farmers in there too, but it's mostly white farmers. And so what's happening is that these, black folks, black South Africaners, they don't like the fact that these white folks are running this stuff. So there's been case and case and case after case where they are rushing these white farms and they're basically doing all kinds of stuff. You have cases where white farmers are getting killed. You have stuff where their equipment's being sabotaged. You have stuff where they just literally push these families off of their land and say, we're taking it now. And so this recent set of laws that they're passing now is that they're saying now we're just going to amp this all the way up and run all of these white people out of here. All right. And so with that being said, this is a case of a farm. This is a citrus farm, and that the black South African government took over. Now, I want you to pay attention to this story and the details of this. So, yay, black folks, we taking it back. We taking back our land. We taking back our land. But you're going to hear some familiar things that went on in this story.
Citrus estate has been beset by infighting among beneficiaries of the successfully claimed land. Most of the fights stem from allegations of financial mismanagement.
Honorable Speaker, I must be honest. It pains me every time I drive past the once renowned Zebediela citrus farm, seeing it in its hollow state, failing to rise from the ashes.
One beneficiary, Ike Kekana, blames the previous leaders of the Communal Property Association and says the government gives CPAs carte blanche.
So there are no sanctions. The CPAs does as they like. People come here, enrich themselves, and that is it.
Chairperson of the newly elected CPA leadership says the farm is visually fallow.
Ke kwa botlhoko kudu ka gore le bana ba rena ba dutse gae a ba bereke ebile bana ba bona ba tletše kua ba ja dinyaope ka gore batswadi ba bona ba kgone go ba iša sekolong mara ge nkabe polase ya rena e swana le morago kua ge batho ba be ba bereka nkabe ba kgona go bereka ka mo ba tšea tšhelete ba e kerang ka mo ba iša bana sekolong.
Kekana says the previous...
Oh, Lord. My goodness. So this is a white farm. And so what they're saying is, just hopefully you're catching it, all right, is that basically the black government, black South African government, they took over it. They didn't do anything to that land. You can see it's just overgrowth. They took over it. There's money that they set aside. They saying, okay, now that we took over it, now who's going to take in charge of these farms? And then you got some black folks who got ties to the government and they saying, I'll take over it. But it's usually like a cousin in them, and then they'll get that money, but they won't do anything to the farm. And so as a result, the farm goes into disarray. A few people get the money, but here you got this man who's a worker. He's saying, what about me? Because all I know to do, as I was saying earlier, is to work on the farm. I'm a worker. That's all I know to do. So because nobody is running the farm, I can't get my paycheck. And if I can't get my paycheck, I can't feed my family. Do you see the mindset here? Anyway, let me continue, let it play.
CPA leadership and prominent lawyer Dumi Mukwena must be investigated over the multi-million rand deals they struck with investors.
And according to records at our disposal, more than 28 million got into Dumi Mukwena Incorporated. And The Legal Practice Council then did their own forensic, said 14.2 million was unaccounted for. To me, that is where that thing started. But the straw that could have broken the camel's back, it's when they then came into, if they formed what is called Zebediela fruits. Because at that time, for 1 year, they were taking loans like it's in fashion. In 1 year, they took loans to the value of 197 million. And before that, when you check, they could only pay back as Zebediela fruits, only 16 million. And then they then got a voluntary liquidation. And that was the end of the farm.
But Mokoena dismissed Kekana's accusations, saying he secured the best deals for the farm and instructed ENCA to never contact him about this matter again.
So the black guy took over the farm, took the money, and ran off. And he told ENCA, this is the news organization that's doing this report. He said, don't even talk to me again. This is status quo in South Africa. Okay, so here you got an opportunity. Wow, finally, man, they're taking over their food production. They're not. It ain't that interesting. They're not interested in it. I remember watching a video a while back about Congo and the road situation in Congo, and they were talking about the roads could have been fixed a long time ago. They said, you know what the problem is? The problem is that it's the same kind of setup. They'll appoint somebody, they'll be the whatever, the grand poobah of roads in this country. And they say, okay, we're going to allocate you a certain budget to fix the roads. It's like clockwork. The person will take the money and beat it. They run off. Meanwhile, if you have seen some of these roads that these people got, I'm talking about 60, 70-year-old people have to try to figure out to drive and walk for miles and miles and miles to get something done. We were working with somebody in Congo that has a business where they had truck where they're transporting things, and they were telling us the stories that they had to deal with. It got so bad, their truck got stuck, and they literally had to say, you know what, enough is enough. I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. But this is what's going on over there. All right. So anyway, let's see. So that's the Citrus Farm story. I got another story here too. See, as you know, like I said, what we try to do here is broaden the scope here, and we're going to bring it back to the shores of America in a moment here. This is now a story. I won't play the whole thing. Oh no, this is no, not that one. Hold on. It was a macadamia. Hold on, where is that thing? That one, I'm getting ahead of myself on that one. Let me see. Give me just a moment here. I had the story here. Hold on. Give me just a moment. Hold on. I bookmarked the doggone thing and I don't see it. All right, hold on. But this is another story about another farm. It was a macadamian farm, and they were talking literally the same thing. I'll show you this one, and this is another farm. I'm just showing you these different farms that's going on right now. All right, I'll turn the volume down on this one. And I'll figure out if I can find that other one. So this is another farm here. It's a multi-million range farm or whatever it said there. Multi-million of camels in the North Cape. I'm just reading what it says here. Infrastructure was built up. Everything has collapsed. Everything is dead. And this impact, see, you're not going to hear Malema talk about this. You're not going to hear the Episcopal Church talk about this. You're not going to hear, Pan-Africanists. You're not going to hear them talk about this. They're not, it's the government doing this stuff. They're doing this stuff. And it's anyway. Let me see if I can find that macadamia. If I can't, trust me. You get. Let me see. Let's see. So I closed it out. Anyway, let me take one more sweep here and see if I can find it. If not, I'll just move on to the next one here. That was SABC. Hold on, let me see. Hold on for a second, y'all. Sorry about this. SABC. Oh, you know what? Let me go to my history. Should be on my history. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay, good. All right, here it is.
Trees on the riverbank. However, this beauty is characterized by extreme vandalism of the macadamia nuts factory. Processing machinery has either been vandalized and looted, tractors are demolished, and all offices are completely vandalized.
We're trying to find each other and trying to get to everyone involved. Remember, there's a project there which government invested more than 123 million rands. And apparently there are problems and the project was vandalized. And we're trying to find each other, including explaining the role of the community, including the tenure systems, because seemingly they don't agree about who owns actually the land. So we're trying to resolve that problem.
A community dispute stalled all operations, resulting in scores of employees having to stop working.
There were conflicts within the community members. Some were claiming that they don't see how they will benefit, even though they have land parcels that are part of the project. So the portfolio committee in the previous term visited the area, and they also asked the MEC then to intervene to look into the matters that were raised in those community meetings.
Community leaders want government to facilitate a meeting that will bring together all concerned stakeholders to resolve the impasse.
The offices are vandalized, as we see there, but we can do the offices later if we can manage to resurvive these trees. I think that the people they can be getting their jobs back.
I'll just stop it there. So these folks, they can't even get together. That sound familiar? They can't get together. So basically, you got some fools in the midst that said, okay, we can't get together. In the meantime, let's just tear the whole thing down. We literally just going to tear the whole farm down. We're going to run the white people out. Okay. And then we're going to take it over, but we're not really interested in taking it over. Let's just tear it up and just let the farm just go. I tell you, it sounds very familiar, don't it? Familiar story. This right here, this is an interview. I'm not going to play the interview, but I will just tell you right here. Oh, okay, I'll just read it to you. This is also SABC News. They said the government, now listen to this. The government, this is the Black South African government, because we oftentimes hear about how much land white people own, and then versus how little land Black people own. But did you know about this when it comes to the South African government? The government currently holds 1,259 vacant land parcels, 207 unoccupied houses, and 830 abandoned farms. Let me go back and read that again. The government currently holds 1,259 vacant land parcels. This is, again, coming from ABC. I'll put it up on the screen here. I just was reading it. holds, because they're talking about this in the interview. The government currently holds 1,259 vacant land parcels, 207 unoccupied houses, and 830 abandoned farms. Last year, 65 million rand was spent on rates and taxes for these properties. The Department of Public Works now intends on leasing these properties to the public, with 31 properties ready for lease. Public Works Minister Dean, McPherson weighs in. So the government has, Black South African government, they have farms now. They have farms right now. Black South African government has farms right now. They could turn this thing around. But instead, they want you to focus on the white farmers. And oh my goodness, these racists, we got to get rid of them. That's what they want all the focus on. This is nuts, man. This is crazy. Anyway, and then I had the video. I'm sure many of y'all seen that. Well, Malema and his EFF, they're getting up there, kill the boy, kill the white farmer or whatever. That's their thing. So I'm like, that's a great move. That's a great move. So anyway, let's get back here. So now we're coming back here to America. Okay, so Black Americans, how does all of that apply to us? Let's come on back here. Number one, what's the crazy thing about this whole situation is that, as far as what Trump is doing, is that people are trying to make it seem as if this is something brand new. Trump, I knew Trump was going to do this. He's a racist. I knew he would appeal. He would definitely, that'll be the first group he was going to go after, are these white South Africans. These white South Africans, because, apartheid and all of that, these white South Africans, I knew he would go after these people. Well, let me, wait a minute. The Economist. When was this story written? March the 23rd, 2023. White South African farmers are thriving in Mississippi. Did you know that? White South African farmers are thriving in Mississippi. Yeah, Mississippi, United States, Mississippi. They already here. They've been here. White South African farmers started working on farms in Mississippi more than 2 decades ago. I didn't hear anything about the Episcopal Church saying anything about them. Now all of a sudden Trump is doing it. Now we've done all we could stand and we can't stand no more. If Andrew Johnson Pitchard remembers correctly, at the Pitts farm where the sexagenarian farm, I guess that means 60 years, I don't know, farm worker was formerly employed, records show that clipped accents became a mainstay in 2014. The South Africans were good guys, hardworking, and kept to themselves. The fact that they were getting paid 60% more wasn't their fault, Mr. Johnson says. They didn't know that what we were getting. We didn't know what we was getting. Each year, several thousand South Africans come to America on a seasonal H-2A visas as temporary agricultural workers. The visa was first introduced in 1986. Employees must pay for both flight tickets, housing, and food, and dish out a premium hourly wage. Persistent farm labor shortages across America had pushed visas up by 211% from 2011 to 2021 fiscal year. South African hires, leaving behind a poor economy and high crime rates, have increased by 692% in that same period, and now make up the second largest group of H-2A workers, exceeded only by Mexicans. Did you know this? Did you know this? See, A lot of these people that are talking about, they're not talking about that. Because they only go by the tyranny of the urgent. In other words, we hate Trump, and so therefore we're going to snip out history, and we're just going to go by anything under Trump. Then that we're going to start from there. No. You got to go back. South African farmers been here. They've been coming here. Oh, and it gets more interesting. It gets more interesting, y'all. Look. This is for under Delta News. I want you to take a listen to this and how it impacts black farm workers. Let's take a listen.
You have some tough days, you have some good days, you know.
David Crawford of Lambert worked in these fields for at least 20 years. Then, about 5 years ago, he noticed something different, something odd.
Knows a lot of South African guys coming down this way, and they taking over their jobs too.
Taking over jobs he had. Attorney Ty Pinkins started hearing similar stories in Sunflower County. Soon, the entire Delta was abuzz with stories of foreigners replacing local farm workers.
They were telling us that they didn't understand why they were getting fired from working on the farm at the same time that white South Africans were showing up on the farm.
Pinkins began investigating and found some shocking facts. He found Delta farmers abusing a government visa program for foreign workers, a program that made farmers promise 3 things.
Farm owners are breaking all 3 rules, all of them. First, they're not reaching out to local farm workers before they bring over H-2A workers. So they're lying to the federal government and saying that they are. They're bringing over the H-2A workers and paying them the $12.55 an hour, while still paying the local black workers here on the farms $7.25 an hour.
Now, that's a point there. I'm going to visit that in a moment. That's a very key point that he's saying here, okay?
And $8 an hour.
Okay. Farmers discovered the H-2A visa program over a decade ago and have increased their use of it every year, according to research from the nonprofit Mississippi Today.
Farm owners, they hire a third party, an intermediary, to recruit these farm workers. And I've traveled all over the Delta, and I can tell you that there are up to 100 or more farm owners in the Delta that use the H-2A program.
The Mississippi Today investigation found them in every farming sector, too, with potato farming showing a whopping 44% violations of the law. But Pinkins believes that's only the tip of the iceberg. Why? Because since 2005, the Labor Department has investigated only 1% of Mississippi farms, but it found of those farms it investigated, 81% violated the law.
Nobody's holding farmers accountable here in the Mississippi Delta.
Pinkins filed lawsuits against some of the biggest violators and recently testified before a congressional committee about the problem.
These changes have been extremely detrimental to local farm workers. Despite all the laws and regulations designed to protect American workers against unfair competition from H-2A workers, the local farm workers in the Delta have been displaced as area farmers each year import more and more foreign workers.
It got the attention of U.S. Labor Secretary Marty Walsh, who came to visit the Delta last month.
But when the unemployment rate is 14% in a region, then that doesn't justify going outside and bringing workers in.
And Pinkins says the wrongs committed by Delta farmers don't stop there.
Right over in Humphreys County, which is right next door to this county, we've heard farm workers telling us that farm owners are allowing white South Africans to use the restroom inside the building and forcing local black workers to use the restroom outside in the environment.
The Delta News couldn't find farm owners willing to comment for the record, but at least one told Mississippi Today farmers turned to the visa program in response to a generational shift from farming and a shortage of willing labor.
So why is under Biden, under Obama, why did we not hear anything about this? We ain't hear nothing about this. Now all of a sudden Trump bringing them in. Now all of a sudden it's too far. We are bridged too far now.
The South Africans come here because their pay in U.S. dollars amounts to 15 times more than they could make back home. But even the South Africans have had complaints. 2 filed a lawsuit over a so-called bait and switch where they say they got a promise of farm work but ended up driving trucks and making less than other truckers. Pinkins says it has to stop.
For far too long, community members in Sunflower County and surrounding counties, Humphreys, Yazoo, Sharkey, Issaquena, LaFleur, Coahoma County, they have been cheated out of their wages because of practices by white farm owners in the Delta, and they need their day in court.
So Pinkins began documenting the problem and filing lawsuits where he finds violations. One lawsuit against the Pitts family in Indianola brought this response to Mississippi Today from the family's lawyer. We strongly disagree with the plaintiff's claims, and we look forward to presenting the full set of facts in the course of litigation and having this matter decided according to the law, said attorney Tom Threadgill. But David Crawford says for him, the damage is already done. He left farming about 5 years ago after not being able to support his family on $7.50 an hour.
What was that like trying to live on that?
Oh, it was so terrible. I got this 5 kids, and it was tough.
I think that's it. Okay. Now, we heard this story here. Now, let me add a little bit more, and then we'll wrap this up, okay? So, if you read this article here, it goes on and it talks about how some of the farmers were saying that, okay, let me read this here. I'll read this part here. I'm going to read this second paragraph here. This is why I'll read this one. According to several white farm owners in the region, they're talking down in Mississippi now, hiring from abroad is a necessity. Asking to speak anonymously because he feared a fine for being perceived as racist. Many farm owners say the local folks are lazy, doing only the minimum work and waiting to receive handouts. By contrast, one Clarksdale farm manager said of the South Africans, if I say jump, they say how high. This attitude, he adds, is worth paying more for. Okay. Now, let's pause here and then we'll get into, is there a racial element in this, anti-black element in this? Yes. I mean, you can, these white Mississippi farmers, please. Yeah, that's just to the root. You know, they gonna have that, you know, and for years they've only worked primarily with the locals, black folks, you know, and so what's an interesting thing, so it's a racial angle to it, but it's somewhat different because I'll say it's different because in this case, the people that they're bringing in, that H-2A, under that one, the people that they're bringing in, they're actually paying them more, right? Than they're paying the black folks. Now, a lot of people will hear that and say, yeah, that's the part that's racist. No, actually it isn't. Because if I'm a business owner, I'm always going to go with I'm going to go the way of paying the least amount to get things done. So ideally, yeah, you want to keep your black workers because you're paying them $7 an hour. But in this case here, they said, nah, we're going to have to pay. If we want to really get our stuff done, we need to, we're going to need to pay extra to really get it done. So is racism at play there? Historical racism? We don't want to ignore that part when it comes to black racism against black folks in Mississippi. We don't want to ignore that because that is an ingredient here in this story for sure. But I want you to not just stay there, and I want you to include this as well. This goes back to my point I was making in South Africa. Here you have a situation where you got black folks are in control of the government, which means they can make the calls, which means, now they have greater access to land and all of this stuff. But the mindset of the people doesn't rise above just being a field worker. That's the point that I'm trying to make. And as long as you stay at a field worker mindset, this kind of stuff will continue to happen. So as it pertains to, in this case in Mississippi, what's going on there? Mississippi got a lot of black folks the last I checked. A lot of black folks. And black Americans, we got some deep roots in Mississippi. Now, I don't know if it's in Mississippi or in, I have to ask my wife again because she has an uncle that just passed. He owned quite a bit of farmland down there, and I think he was like a pig farmer, and he did quite a few things. He has significant amount of land. So you do have black farmers down there, but not to the level, unfortunately, that, you know, when you want to do a side-by-side comparison with white farmers. And so we should be running that whole farming industry down there for sure. But there's also, like I said, again, there are some racial elements that are at play. We did a story a while back where we talked about farmers in North Carolina, particularly pig farmers, black pig farmers, and what, you know, the stuff that they were dealing with. You had loan money that was coming into North Carolina, but then the local government, they'll get their hands on it and say, okay, this is available for everybody else but the black farmers. So you got that stuff going on. That's a level that's going on too. But so it's the racism is at play. There's a part of that, but there's another part where the mindset of, you know what, we can either continue to deal with it this way, or let's develop another strategy where we're still the food providers. You understand what I'm saying? If we can't do it in Mississippi, okay, fine, let's move somewhere else. But I will tell you this, as it pertains to Mississippi just passed a law where they said it's tax-free. Someone can correct me on that, but they said it's Mississippi is they're waiving was it income tax? I think they're waiving income tax, if I'm not mistaken on that. Basically, they're trying to make it where they're saying, listen, if anybody want to do business in this state, please come. And so this is an opportune time for some people out there, if you are interested in that, to take advantage of this, and really, because people are always going to want to eat. You understand what I'm saying? So my point in all of this is that I've given you two examples in this broadcast where all the tools are there for black folks to basically turn this thing into something that is major, where now you are economically turning this into where you are becoming the source. All the tools were there. But unfortunately, just because you have all the tools and you give it them to people, it doesn't mean the recipients are able to do it or want to do it. Some people just want to remain at that level. They just do. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of times we just assume that, you know, all black folks want to do certain things. There are a lot of black folks who don't want to put in the work to do that kind of stuff. There are numbers that are like that, but you also got numbers who want to do it. In fact, like I said, again, let's be completely open here. You got like North Carolina A&T. There's all kind of A&T or A&M churches, schools all throughout the South, where you have students who are being trained to run farms. They're trained in the world of agriculture. They're being trained in the latest technology and all of that. What I'm saying is there's got to be a mindset switch where you don't just run to Bill Gates or run to whoever else is owning all these big major food producers. And there's got to be a mind switch to let's start doing this stuff ourselves. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because when you don't do it, this kind of stuff happens. You understand what I'm saying? In the case of South Africa, you're dealing with gross amount of corruption. And, you know, it's layers to that because like someone had mentioned CIA or something like that earlier. I mean, you got people that just want things to stay broken. You understand what I'm saying? But still, there is no excuse. You got a whole country of people that, I mean, it's just, I'm still mind boggled at the fact that, man, y'all ain't running, at least the farms, y'all ain't running that. But then when you start looking at the government and how the government is set up and the stuff they've been doing, it kind of makes sense, but it's a really sad case. Here in the United States, you got black folks that have been living in those states for years and years and years. But unfortunately, the mindset is just, hey, let me just as long as I'm getting my check, that's all I care about. We're going to have to start moving beyond that is what I'm saying. And there are little pockets of examples all throughout the United States where black folks are taking some initiatives. Okay, we want to acknowledge that. Through the Carolinas, you'll find little pockets where black folks are buying land and they're growing produce and things like that. If you look, I think there was a directory out there where you'll find some people, but on a much smaller scale. What I'm saying is you gotta, if you really want to turn this thing around, we got to start thinking much, much bigger. And a lot of times we like to talk about our ancestors and all of that, but, and I know people don't want to look at it this way, but you can't ignore it. Slavery was a very bad thing, right? The stuff that they did to us in slavery, we get all of that. But in slavery, what was one of the things that we were brought over here to do? What was the main thing we were brought over here to do? To work their land. We were brought over here to work their land. Well, I see that as training. See, when you always look at your history as just the negative part of it, you miss the other things out of it too. The years, we had hundreds of years of training when it comes to doing this, as far as growing things and having an appreciation for nature and doing all this stuff. Don't you know, black folks, when it came, there was a point in this country where, hospitals and doctors, they weren't taking us or in when we were sick, right? So we would start foraging. We were known for foraging and finding our medicines. Well, we were so good at it, they started passing laws where no foraging laws geared specifically to black folks and said, no, you can't forage anymore. If you don't own the land, you can't forage. This is part of your legacy. This is the part of our history that I'm saying we need to pull from that. That's the kind of stuff we need to start pulling from. And that mindset has to come back to us, where we're making those kind of things a priority. Even if the government won't fund it, if black folks can put together over $500,000 for a murderer, I think black folks can find a few coins to start investing in things like this. Or you can find people who are already doing it and getting behind them so that it can become even better. And I'll say this and I'm done. One of my focuses, our focuses, with Samba Tree, for example, is to find black farmers, to find, I want to, if it's not here, it's abroad. And I've been really working with, in the past, we have been forming a relationship with people in other countries, like in Africa, in the Caribbean as well. This summer, I'm going to be really trying to identify folks that are in the Caribbean and all that grow some of these herbs and stuff. And we still do, but I want to continue to do that so that, there's this two-way street thing going on where, we're selling your stuff and then you're getting, you getting money for what you're doing, that kind of thing. And so this is the type of mindset that we have to have, economically. And so I was looking at this story and this whole story with Trump and all of that and what he's doing. You can even just look at that through the lens of race and just leave it at that. Or you can sit back and learn from the lessons on it on what not to do, but see it also as a challenge of the things that we should be doing and what we should be focusing on. And so I think that's it. That's all I have here. Let me see what this, I think this is a sister here. What you saying here? She said, we try to get people together, yet vetting people is necessary. And so many weren't serious. Let me tell you, sister, let me tell you something. Let me tell you, this is the number one thing. And this is what we always deal with here on this platform. What you're saying here, we try to get people together, but vetting people is necessary. You could stop right there, hang it up, go to bed on that one. That's a big issue, but it's so very important. It's so very important. We got to get past this thing where let's just get open call. Any black person, just come on in and you're going to take, you got to filter people out because you got some people that'll come in, they'll talk that talk, but they will not walk that walk. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you got to be very picky. Even when it's people that look like you and may sound like you got to be very picky because doing this kind of work, it takes a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of commitment. It does. But I see these as opportunities. These are golden opportunities, even in this day and in this climate right now. We can talk all we want about, this about the world is about to end and they're gonna poison the food supply and all that. We don't have to live like that. Yeah, if you get all your food from the grocery store, you got something to worry about. But what if we had a network of different farms that we can work with and we get our food from them? I've been actually trying to put that on practice here. Here where I live right now, trying to do that. Finding local farms that I can work with. They ain't got to be, and guess what? They don't have to be black either. They don't have to be black. As long as you are meeting my standard. My standard. What's my standard? It's got to be organic. Don't tell me that you sprayed stuff on it. You meet my standard, then you're going to get my money. You understand what I'm saying? That's how you do it. And that's what we did in Samba Tree. All that produce that we sold off in the last, what was that, a month or so ago? We had a standard. Did you spray it? Well, yeah, we did. All right, bye. Is it seeded or seedless? It's seedless. Okay, bye. We can't work with you. We want seeded fruit. We set a standard, and that's what we put out. That's how you got to think. You know what I mean? So there you go. That's it. I don't want to prolong this, but I hope you got something out of this. Think deeper. When you hear these stories, think a little bit deeper, because usually there is something in there that we need to pull from and learn from that. And because in this era right now, in this time right now, we're going to have to start thinking self-sufficiency. Even if it's just you and your family, that's how you're going to have to think. Okay? Even if you got to be small like that, then be small like that. But that's how you're going to have to think. Okay? All right. That's it. That's all I have for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys take care. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Okay? We're going to do this again. I'm going to try to do this again tomorrow where we'll cover another topic. Okay? Take care, and I'll see you again next time.